So one of the most common questions I get is, what plants can I grow in a low light environment in my home? Because let me tell you, plant friends, a lot of us have low light homes. We don't have the floor to ceiling windows that so many of the influencers we follow on social media have. We have normal homes with normal light. But the good news is there are plenty of amazing low light tolerant plants that you can fill your low light home to make it lush, gorgeous, and verdant. Growing joy. Hi plant friends, I'm Maria. I'm here to help you care for plants successfully and grow joy while doing so. I'm so excited to be partnering with Proven Winners Leafjoy on this episode celebrating low light tolerant plants who I think do not get enough credit. Proven Winners Leafjoy is growing high quality houseplants. They are amazing. They're choosing the best genetics, breeding them into really robust plants. And every plant that you see on my table today is a Proven Winners Leafjoy plant. And there is a low light plant for every type of person. So get ready. We're going to dive in and talk about low light. What is a low light plant? How to care for low light plants, and a variety of different low light plants for different types of personalities and watering needs. So this video on low light plants is particularly close to my heart because I just moved and I have discovered that my house is very low light. I am using grow lights, but I've also been thinking about what low light plants I can put in some very low light areas of my home. And I'm excited to show you all the research that I've done. Okay, so here's my hot take on low light plants. I think that low light plants are the best plants because they are so versatile. And particularly when you're gifting other people plants, they are the best gift option, but also for your home, because a lot of low light tolerant plants actually thrive in medium light, and some even thrive in high light. So you can move them around your house. And if you are someone who maybe doesn't understand the lighting environment of their house, go with a low light plant first, use that low light plant to understand what your lighting environment is, and then choose plants from there. But the snake plant is an awesome example of low light plants that actually love high light. So the snake plant is touted as the low light plant, right? Like the hard to kill, low light tolerant plant. And believe me, I've had snake plants all over my house in the lowest condition of light. I've often forgotten about them. They're drought tolerant, they're low light tolerant, they're fabulous. But I recently went to California and I was walking around and I noticed that there are snake plants used as hedging in California. And they're beautiful, they're in direct sunlight outdoors, and they bloom when you give them enough light. So they're not low light loving plants, they're low light tolerant plants. And that is really the case for all of these house plants. They're low light tolerant. All plants need light because they use light to do photosynthesis to make their food. So there's no such thing as a no light plant, because all plants need light to survive, but there are plants that only need a little bit of light to make their food, and that is the low light tolerant plant. But another thing to understand is most of us are overestimating how much light that we have indoors. And because of that, we're probably putting our plants in lower light conditions anyway and not even knowing it. I am totally guilty of this. In my first apartment in New York City, I had enormous southern facing windows that had tons of light, but I only had those windows on one side of my apartment. So once you got 3 feet away from those windows, you were automatically in low light. I didn't understand that because I was a new plant parent and I was like, oh, I have southern facing windows. I can put highlight succulents and ficus all over my house. And I was actually putting some highlight plants in really low light conditions. But if I had taken a low light plant and put it in that low light condition, it probably would have been okay and not died. You see what I'm saying here? So basically, I'll get off my soapbox now, but low light plants are amazing. And also there are so many varieties that I want to dive into for you. Oh, and also if you have no light rooms in your house, like bathrooms with no windows, stay to the end and I'll talk about a couple of different ways that you can kind of work around that. But let's dive into what is a low light plant or a low light tolerant plant. And like I said, that just means that it's a plant that doesn't need as much light as other plants to do the photosynthesis and make its own food and thrive. So when you put plants in a low light environment, no matter what type of plant they are, and this can also happen in high light environments, this happens with my plants in my western facing windows, plants will always orient their leaves towards the light. So if you are the light, this plant might ultimately kind of move its leaves so that it can get as much of its leaf facing you to get that light. It's very smart. It's called phototropism. What happens is if this plant, all of the leaves, this plant actually won't do that, but let's talk about this philodendron. So if all of these leaves are facing you, it could ultimately tip over. So one thing that you're going to want to do with all of your houseplants really, but particularly be mindful with your low light plants, is rotate the pot every couple of weeks so it grows upright and it doesn't lean and topple over. Another thing that you want to be mindful of with low light plants is the leaves and dust. So a lot of the low light areas in our home that we're putting plants in, like corners, tend to also be dusty areas. They're places that we don't get a lot of, they're not really trafficked. They don't get a lot of love. So make sure that you clean your leaves either with a damp paper towel, or you can get fancy leaf cleaning gloves like I have. Make sure that the leaves don't accumulate too much dust, because then you might run into issues where the plant it's not going to be set up for success. It wants to have clean leaves so it can photosynthesize and do all of the different processes that plants need to do to survive. So make sure that you keep those plant leaves really clean. Okay, so now let's talk about different types of plants for different types of personalities, because basically not all low light plants are low maintenance plants. So the maintenance is really gonna have to do with how often you water a plant. And when it comes to low light plants, there are low light plants that are super drought tolerant that you could water like once every couple of weeks, like a snake plant. But then there are plants that really need even moisture, that need, frequent watering. So I thought we could go through the scale of watering needs and kind of go from plants that need the most watering to plants that need the least watering, and then mix and match based on your personalities. So if you are a mindful plant parent, there are tons of low light tolerant plants that you will love. Mindful plant parents are people who like to engage with plants on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. They're really in tune with their plants. It's going to be very easy for them to water plants. And for that mindful plant parent, I'm going to say moisture loving plants are going to be your best friend, whether it's ferns. This is the this is the hurricane fern. This is one of my favorite plants in my collection. It's a bird's nest fern that has these really fun twirly leaves. Other ferns that I really love from Proven Winners Leafjoy. So I just planted up this arrangement for my table with a bunch of different Leafjoy ferns. So this is the Victoria bird's nest fern. I highly recommend bird's nest ferns. They are hardier of all the ferns, which I really love. Also, they have this like twirly whirly fern, which is so cute. I also planted Fittonia because Fittonia and ferns are both moisture loving plants, so you can plant these together and water them at the same time. Proven Winners Leafjoy has Fittonias in their littles. Here's one. They're like teensy little pots of Fittonias that they have in all sorts of pinks and whites and greens. They're so cute. Then we also have the Divana. I put it on the floor. Hold on one second. Oh, we also have, this is like one of the most epic ferns. Now it is sensitive to humidity, but this is the Divana. It's a rabbit's foot fern, and it has this like really beautiful kind of bluish tint to the leaves. It's so fluffy. I love it so much. It's such a great statement plant, but it does need more humidity than some of the other ferns that we talked about. Another great moisture loving kind of genera, Marantaceae in general. I think they're a family, not a genera, but prayer plants. So Calathea, are you kidding me with these leaves? Now, Calathea need humidity as well, but if you have the humidity, look at these Calathea. They're gonna be so happy. It looks like they're hand painted by Mother Nature. So this is the colorful Like a Prayer Calathea. It's so big, it's actually about to bloom, but it has that beautiful mint green and dark green leaf that I love so much. I also just added some Calathea to my green wall that I think are so beautiful. It's this variegated Maranta that is so absolutely beautiful. I can't wait for it to like cascade over this beautiful Wally Grow pocket. And then there's also the Sananth. So this one is called the Sweet Dreams Neverland Sananth Luberciana. But like, can we even talk about prayer plants? Like if you have the humidity for prayer plants, like they will put on such a show for you in your home. Look at those beautiful leaves. I love all of the different colors of green. It like kind of matches all the different green in my shirt right now. So beautiful. One other plant that loves moisture, we've talked about the Fittonia already, Syngonium. So cute, sometimes called arrowhead vine, but Syngonium like evenly moist soil. They're so cute, heart-shaped leaves. Proven Winners Leafjoy has the green variety and the pink variety of Syngonium. The pink variety of Syngonium is like literally hearts in your house. They're so cute. Now, if you're not a mindful plant parent and you're someone who wants to like have plants but not be so crazy about them and like water once a week, once every couple of weeks, there's tons of options for you as well. Let's dive in. Philodendrons can be low light tolerant, but I would err towards the dark green leaf varieties, not the variegated varieties, because sometimes the variegated varieties need a little bit more light. But there are a ton of beautiful green-leafed philodendrons that you can get. They have a bunch of varieties in their H2O line. They have basically anything in the Proven Winners Leafjoy H2O line is low light tolerant. They have this gorgeous plant, the Prismacolor Green Princess. It's like a very classic green, dark green philodendron. I believe it's the non-variegated version of the philodendron Birkin. But once again, it's like that standard beautiful green foliage, nice and waxy, kind of shiny, very beautiful. And then if you're maybe a curious collector plant parent, someone who likes something a little bit more interesting, not as basic, the Atabapoense. I mean, are you kidding me with these leaves? I put one of them in my wall. I just think they look so jungly and gorgeous, but like check that leaf out. So this plant is also low light tolerant. I would say with philodendrons, they're a little happier in like indirect bright light, medium light, but they will tolerate low light if they are the green varieties. Another plant that I've had in low light that always is so forgiving and friendly in low light is the Monstera. You can do the normal, your classic Monstera deliciosa, but this is the Monstera adansonii, the Swiss cheese vine. So if you have like a bookshelf that you want to put plants on top of and have cascade, that Monstera adansonii Swiss cheese vine is so good, and it's also drought tolerant. When it comes to drought tolerancy, oh my gosh, Dracaena, are you kidding me? Dracaena are so drought tolerant. They come in all sorts of beautiful variegations. You can see these two. This one has dark green and lime green. This one has dark green, mint green, and white. But Dracaena are super drought tolerant, super low light tolerant. And probably of all of the low light tolerant, drought tolerant plants, personally, what I can speak to is the plant that is really going to be the most forgiving when it comes to drought tolerancy is the pothos. Epipremnum. The pothos varieties come in all sorts of variegation. You have like the standard variegation. You also have these lime green ones. This is called the Off to Oz pothos, but there are so many different varieties of pothos that are so beautiful. They're low light tolerant, they're drought tolerant. So from the very drought tolerant, easy care pothos to the more high maintenance, more mindful ferns, there is really a low light tolerant plant for everyone. I hope this video was helpful. I hope you're inspired to go get some low light tolerant plants for maybe areas of your home that you hadn't thought about putting plants in. When it comes to no light, like I said, all plants need light. No light equals no plants. But if you have an area of your home that is no light that you want plants, there are two things that you can do that I've done before. Number one is get a grow light. There are grow lights in every price point, in every shape and size. There are grow lights you can literally, they're light bulbs you can screw into a desk lamp or a floor lamp. You can buy strips that you put under shelving if you have a bathroom, and then you can put a bunch of plants under your shelf. There's so many different grow lights out there. You will immediately turn your no light bathroom into a highlight environment. So go forth and illuminate your low light areas. We have tons of videos on grow lights on this YouTube channel and tons of podcasts as well. And then the other idea that I had that I have used before is the swapping method. So if you have two plants, also for no light areas in your home, the H2Os are great options. Say I have these two plants. I'll put this in my no light bathroom and I'll put this on my windowsill for a week. This will photosynthesize, make its food. This will like chill and live off of its reserves. Every week I will switch them, and then I'll get a new plant in my bathroom and this will be on the windowsill, and then I'll keep switching them. And that's a way that you can kind of bring life into a no light area, but you have to remember to switch them because these plants do need light and you really should be switching them every week. But I would much more prefer you get a grow light, but it is an option if you need plants in a low light area. I hope this was helpful. There truly is a plant for everyone on this list. We will link to all the plants below. They're all proven winners. When you go to the garden center, ask for Proven Winners Leafjoy and look for the Proven Winners Leafjoy tag. Like I said, they're making amazing houseplants. They have their lighting requirements on the back of the tag. They have the names, they have the plant Latin. You can go to provenwinners.com to see where your local Leafjoy dealer is as well. And of course, plant friends, I hope that this video has helped you keep growing joy.